Welcome to another episode of Debunking Pro-Abortion Arguments. I'm your host, Lydia, Students for Life spokesperson, and today I'll be debunking my body, my choice in the Violinist Argument. If you've been around the abortion issue for more than 5 minutes, you've definitely heard the phrase, my body, my choice, thrown around by pro-choicers as their ultimate slogan. They use this idea of bodily autonomy and choice to disguise what abortion really is, the killing of innocent human beings. Let's get into it. When pro-choicers say, my body, my choice, I want to be clear. I don't care what women do with their bodies. They can shave their head bald, tattoo their forehead, pierce their belly button. I might not personally agree with those decisions, but that is their body, their choice, and they should be legally allowed to do those choices. But a preborn child has their own body, their own fingers, their own toes, their own heartbeat. And because they have their own body, they deserve their own bodily autonomy, which abortion directly infringes on by either poisoning, vacuuming, or dismembering an innocent baby. Abortion infringes on a baby's bodily autonomy no matter what stage the abortion occurs in. First trimester abortions happen through either chemical abortion procedures or through a suction D&C procedure. A suction or aspiration D&C abortion is a procedure in which the abortionist opens a woman's cervix with tools like these. These were actual tools used in abortion procedure, and these tools are used to gain access to the baby. A suction catheter is inserted into the mother's uterus to violently suck up and extract the preborn baby, essentially vacuuming them. Tools are then used, like this, a curette, to scrape the lining of the uterus to remove any remaining parts of the baby. This procedure is committed during the first trimester, typically between the 5th and 13th week of pregnancy. There are very serious risks to the mother during this procedure, including injuries to the uterus or cervix, potential damage to the intestines, bladder, or nearby blood vessels. Other consequences include hemorrhage, infections, and in some cases, even the death of the mother. Chemical abortion procedures are committed by the woman visiting an abortion facility or ordering the pills online with zero verification of pregnancy. She ingests the pills, the first being mifepristone. This drug blocks the action of the hormone called progesterone, which is naturally produced by the mother's body to enable the mother to sustain and nourish the pregnancy. When RU486 or mifepristone blocks progesterone, the lining of the mother's uterus breaks down, cutting off blood and nourishment to the baby, who then dies inside the mother's womb because they're essentially starved to death. 24 to 48 hours later, the woman ingests another pill called misoprostol, administered orally or vaginally, which causes contractions and bleeding to expel the baby from the womb. The babies are often flushed down toilets into our waterways. And even after the baby is expelled, the bleeding and spotting may continue for several weeks. Bleeding usually lasts 9 to 16 days. 8% of women, 1 in 12, bleed more than 30 days, and 1% require hospitalization because of heavy bleeding. About 5 to 8 out of 100 women may need a surgical procedure to complete the abortion or to stop too much bleeding. There have been over 32 women in America killed by chemical abortion pills. Second trimester abortions are committed by a D&E procedure where the abortionist uses laminaria, a form of sterilized seaweed, to open the woman's cervix 24 to 48 hours before the procedure. The laminaria soaks up liquid from the woman's body and expands, widening the cervix. The abortionist then uses these additional tools to gain access to the cervix. When she returns, the abortionist inserts a large suction catheter into the uterus and turns it on, emptying the amniotic fluid. After the amniotic fluid is removed, the abortionist uses a Sofer clamp, just like this one that was actually used in abortion procedures, which is a grasping instrument with rows of sharp teeth, to grasp and pull the baby's limbs, arms, legs, tearing the limbs from the child's body. The abortionist continues to grasp intestines, spine, heart, lungs, and any other limbs or body parts. The most difficult part of the procedure is usually finding, grasping, and crushing the baby's head. After removing pieces of the child's skull, the abortionist uses a curette, like this one, to scrape the uterus and remove the placenta and any remaining parts of the baby. The abortionist then collects all of the baby's parts and reassembles them to make sure there are 2 arms, 2 legs, and that all of the pieces have been removed. For the woman, this procedure carries a significant immediate risk of major complications. Since the baby is removed in pieces, sharp pieces of broken fetal bones can puncture the woman's uterus or cause a large tear. This perforation or laceration of the uterus and cervix can also damage any other maternal organs. Third trimester abortions are done by an induction over the course of several days. On day 1, to help ensure the baby will be delivered dead and not alive, the abortionist uses a large needle to inject digoxin or potassium chloride through the woman's abdomen or vagina, targeting the baby's heart, torso, or head. When the digoxin takes effect, the lethal dose causes fatal cardiac arrest and the baby's life will end. Even if the needle misses the baby, digoxin can still kill the baby when released into the amniotic sac, but will usually take longer to kill the child. During the same visit, the abortionist inserts multiple laminaria sticks or sterilized seaweed to open up the woman's cervix. On day 2, the abortionist replaces the laminaria and may perform a second ultrasound to ensure that the baby is dead. If the child is still alive, the abortionist administers a second lethal dose of digoxin or potassium chloride. During this visit, the abortionist may administer labor-inducing drugs. The woman goes back to where she is staying while her cervix continues to dilate. The woman will usually wait a period of 2 to 4 days for her cervix to dilate enough for her to deliver the dead baby. Day 3 or 4, she goes through extremely intense contractions until she delivers her dead baby. This is the most risky abortion procedure for women. Late-term abortions have a high risk of hemorrhage, lacerations, and uterine perforations, as well as a risk of maternal death. Future pregnancies are also at a greater risk for loss or premature delivery due to abortion-related trauma and injury to the cervix. Every single one of these abortion procedures are a direct violation of the baby's bodily autonomy. Pro-choicers claim to support bodily autonomy, but if your idea of bodily autonomy involves poisoning, vacuuming, or dismembering, or injecting lethal drugs into a baby's body, it is not bodily autonomy. Killing innocent children should never be a choice. Now, I want to address what many pro-lifers consider to be one of the most difficult pro-abortion arguments to debunk. I want you to imagine the situation that pro-choicers bring up. You wake up in the morning and find yourself back to back in bed with an unconscious violinist, a famous unconscious violinist. He has been found to have a fatal kidney ailment, and the Society of Music Lovers has canvassed all of the available medical records and found that you alone have the right blood type to help. They have therefore kidnapped you, and last night, the violinist circulatory system was plugged into yours so that your kidneys can be used to extract poisons from his blood as well as your own. If he is unplugged from you now, he will die. But in 9 months, he will have recovered from his ailment and can safely be unplugged from you. This thought experiment is supposed to show that even if we agree that a preborn baby has a right to live, like the violinist undoubtedly has, we can still defend the mother's decision to have an abortion, or in the thought experiment, the kidnapped person's decision to have the violinist removed. Now let's explain many reasons why the violinist argument is flawed. Number 1, you can choose not to donate your uterus to the baby by deciding not to have sex. Consent to sex is consent to pregnancy. 99% of pregnancies occur from consensual sex. And if you're sexually active, you acknowledge the risk of creating a child who will be fully dependent on you. You can't punish them for your actions by saying, I should be allowed to kill this person because I didn't consent to being pregnant, when you are the one that caused them to be created. We all have a responsibility for our actions. For example, let's say you go gambling and you're playing a game that somehow has a 99% chance of you winning. So you put down all your money in this bet. By some crazy odds, you lose the game and therefore all of your money. You can't then say, I didn't consent to losing all my money, so I refuse to pay up. No, you have to be responsible for your actions, whether it's losing a gambling bet or conceiving a child out of consensual sex. Even out of this argument, though, there are many other reasons why the violinist argument is flawed. Another one is that pregnancy is natural, whereas the violinist case of organ donation is not. Pregnancy is not an extraordinary medical situation like in the analogy. It is, in fact, very normal. It actually means that the mom and baby are healthy. Your kidneys are not meant for other people, but your uterus is. The uterus essentially belongs to the baby to begin with. The sole purpose of the uterus is to sustain the baby's life, and it provides no actual benefit to the mother. A mother isn't giving up an organ to her detriment. Being pregnant is using her organ, the uterus, for what it was intended to do: sustain her child. Another reason, and primary reason, why the violinist argument is flawed is because abortion would be like donating the organ in a violinist argument and then not just unplugging yourself from the person, but going up and stabbing repeatedly the person that you donated an organ to, intentionally killing them. When you're pregnant, the organ donation has already been completed and the baby is actively using your uterus to survive. Abortion isn't just neglecting to donate an organ, it's actively killing the person you've already donated the organ to, in the analogy. And the last argument to debunk the violinist analogy is the fact that there is a difference between the relationship of you to a violinist versus the relationship between a parent and their child. You have a parental responsibility to care for your child. It is much different than donating an organ to a random stranger. Parents are expected to care for their children and not neglect them, even if it's inconvenient to them. Just because a baby is solely dependent on the mother's body to survive doesn't give her the right to end their life. Consider areas of the world where adoption is not an option, where mothers are tragically on their own with no formula or other people willing to care for their baby. The baby is solely dependent on the mother's body for breast milk, and by pro-choice logic, she could refuse to take care of the baby and feed her baby, since it's her body, her choice, and just kill the baby by neglecting them. While I unfortunately do meet pro-choicers who believe this should be her right, overall, most people would agree that just because a child is using the mother's body to survive, that doesn't give her the right to end their life. The glorified idea of bodily autonomy and choice has been used to mislead people into supporting the killing of innocent children. We should be supporting mothers in pregnancy, not telling them that their ability to choose to kill their children is what determines their success. Abortion supporters continue to think of the most ridiculous arguments, from my body, my choice, to the violinist argument, to try and cover up and justify abortion. The truth? Abortion kills innocent children, and we must expose abortion because ending a baby's life is never justifiable. Thanks for watching this episode of Debunking Pro-Abortion Arguments. If this was helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend.